For every network Mossad builds inside Iran, Tehran's intelligence services are hunting. And sometimes, they find exactly what they're looking for. This is the other side of the shadow war. The part that doesn't make headlines until agents disappear, until networks collapse, until executions are announced on state television. This is Iran's counterintelligence war against Mossad. And it's far more sophisticated than most people realize. To understand how Iran hunts Israeli spies, you first need to understand the architecture of Iranian intelligence. Because unlike Western democracies where intelligence functions are consolidated, Iran operates multiple competing agencies that both cooperate and compete with one another. This isn't accidental. It's a deliberate security design inherited from revolutionary paranoia about centralized power. The primary civilian intelligence organization is the Ministry of Intelligence and Security, known by its Persian acronym MIS or VEVA. Created in 1984, MIS handles classic intelligence functions: foreign espionage, counterintelligence, internal security monitoring, and signals intelligence. MIS is technically subordinate to Iran's president, though in practice it reports directly to the supreme leader. The organization employs an estimated 30,000 to 40,000 personnel and maintains stations throughout Iranian embassies worldwide. MIS recruits heavily from seminary students and revolutionary families, creating an ideologically reliable officer corps. But MIS isn't Iran's only intelligence service. The Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps operates its own completely separate intelligence organization. The IRGC intelligence organization focuses primarily on external operations, foreign proxy networks, and military intelligence. It maintains close operational relationships with Hezbollah, various Iraqi Shia militias, the Houthis in Yemen, and other regional assets. The IRGC intelligence organization often works in parallel to MIS on foreign operations, sometimes competing for the same targets and sources. Additionally, Iran's regular military, the Artesh, maintains its own intelligence directorate, though this is significantly smaller and less influential than either MIS or IRGC intelligence. The Supreme Leader's Office also operates its own intelligence collection apparatus that monitors all other agencies. This creates a deliberately redundant system where no single organization can monopolize information or threaten the regime. For counterintelligence specifically, MIS takes the lead role domestically. They're responsible for detecting, tracking, and neutralizing foreign intelligence networks operating inside Iran. The IRGC intelligence organization handles counterintelligence for military installations and external operations. This division of labor means suspected Mossad networks might be investigated by MIS, IRGC intelligence, or both simultaneously depending on the operational domain. Now, how does counterintelligence actually work in a high-surveillance authoritarian state? Iran operates what intelligence professionals call a layered observation society. Every level of Iranian society contains informants, monitoring systems, and control mechanisms designed to detect anomalous behavior. Neighborhood committees report unusual activities. Workplace informants track employee behavior and conversations. University administrators monitor student associations. Religious networks provide another surveillance layer through mosque attendance and Friday prayer participation. This creates an environment where developing a covert network is extraordinarily difficult. Any Iranian citizen recruited by foreign intelligence immediately faces the problem of how to maintain contact without detection. Dead drops, brush passes, and other classic tradecraft techniques become nearly impossible when surveillance is omnipresent. Electronic communication is even more dangerous because Iran's signals intelligence capabilities, while not matching Western standards, are substantial enough to detect encrypted communications, VPN usage, or contact with known foreign intelligence phone numbers. Financial tracking represents another critical counterintelligence tool. MIS monitors banking transactions for anomalous patterns, sudden wealth, unexplained cash deposits, foreign currency transactions. Anyone living beyond their apparent means triggers investigation. Iran's relatively closed economy and restrictions on foreign currency make financial surveillance more effective than in open economies where legitimate income sources are diverse and harder to track. Over the past several years, Iranian state media has announced numerous arrests of individuals accused of working for Mossad. These announcements typically follow a standard pattern. State television broadcasts confessions, often clearly coerced, where detainees describe recruitment by Israeli intelligence, training they received, missions they conducted, and payments they accepted. The production quality and scripting of these broadcasts indicate they serve both domestic propaganda purposes and as warnings to potential foreign intelligence assets. In July 2022, Iran announced the arrest of a network accused of planning to sabotage sensitive industrial facilities, including the Fordo nuclear enrichment plant. According to Iranian media, this network had been operating for several years, receiving instructions and explosives from Mossad handlers outside Iran. The announcement included footage of detained individuals describing how they were recruited through social media, offered financial incentives, and trained to conduct surveillance and plant explosive devices. In October 2023, Iran announced dismantling what they described as a large Mossad espionage network that had been gathering intelligence on military installations and Revolutionary Guard commanders. Iranian intelligence claimed this network included both Iranian nationals and foreign operatives using business cover to travel throughout the country. Several individuals were sentenced to death following closed trials. Most recently, in early 2024, Iran announced arrests related to alleged Mossad operations targeting Iranian nuclear scientists and facilities. Iranian counterintelligence claimed they had identified communication patterns, surveillance activities, and preparatory reconnaissance that indicated active targeting of specific individuals. Now, it's critical to understand what we can actually verify about these announcements versus what remains Iranian government claims. Western intelligence agencies rarely comment publicly on Iranian counterintelligence successes, which makes independent verification extremely difficult. Human rights organizations have documented that Iran regularly extracts false confessions through torture and prolonged interrogation. Many individuals executed as foreign spies may have been innocent citizens caught in politically motivated prosecutions or used as scapegoats when Iran's intelligence services needed to demonstrate effectiveness. However, the strategic logic suggests that at least some of these arrests represent genuine counterintelligence successes. Mossad does operate networks inside Iran. This is confirmed by the successful operations they've conducted. And basic counterintelligence probability indicates that some percentage of those networks will eventually be detected. No intelligence service, regardless of sophistication, maintains perfect operational security indefinitely. The question isn't whether Iran catches some Israeli assets. The question is what percentage they catch and how quickly. From a tradecraft perspective, how does Iranian counterintelligence actually hunt Mossad networks? The process typically begins with anomaly detection. MOS and IRGC intelligence continuously analyze surveillance data looking for patterns that don't fit normal behavior. This might be an individual making repeated trips to areas near sensitive installations without clear professional justification. It might be someone whose financial situation suddenly improves without explanation. It might be electronic communications with suspicious characteristics, encryption, contact with numbers linked to known intelligence services, use of secure messaging applications popular among intelligence operatives. Once a potential target is identified, Iranian counterintelligence initiates what's called developmental surveillance. They don't arrest immediately because one suspicious individual might lead to an entire network. Instead, they watch. They monitor communications. They track associations. They identify everyone the suspect contacts, where they go, what they do. This surveillance can continue for months or even years, with the goal of mapping the complete network structure before making arrests. During this developmental phase, Iranian counterintelligence may also deploy false flag operations. They might approach the suspect pretending to be fellow dissidents or potential intelligence assets, testing whether the individual reveals connections to foreign services. They might create controlled provocations to see how the suspect responds and whether that response indicates intelligence training. When Iranian counterintelligence finally decides to roll up a network, the arrests typically happen simultaneously across multiple locations. This prevents individuals from warning each other and limits the network's ability to execute escape, or evidence destruction plans. Detained individuals are then subjected to intense interrogation designed to extract information about handlers, communication methods, other network members, and future planned operations. Iranian interrogation methodology, according to former detainees and human rights documentation, combines psychological pressure, physical torture, threats against family members, and promises of leniency in exchange for cooperation. The goal is extracting actionable intelligence quickly before foreign intelligence services can adjust their operations in response to the compromise. From Mossad's perspective, the greatest danger in these network roll-ups isn't just the loss of specific assets. It's the intelligence damage, what Iranian counterintelligence learns about Israeli operational methodology, communication systems, recruitment patterns, and targeting priorities. Every compromised network teaches Iranian counterintelligence how to better detect the next one. This creates an escalating tradecraft competition. Mossad adapts its recruitment approaches, communication security, and operational patterns based on what they assess Iranian counterintelligence has learned. Iranian counterintelligence simultaneously adapts its detection methodology based on evolving Israeli tactics. This cycle, detection, adaptation, counter-adaptation, defines modern intelligence warfare. The psychological dimension of this competition is often underestimated. Counterintelligence operations are fundamentally about creating uncertainty and fear within adversary networks. Every arrest announcement, every state television broadcast of confessions, every public execution sends a message to potential Israeli assets. We are watching, we are capable, and the consequences are severe. This psychological pressure makes recruitment harder and makes existing assets more cautious, which degrades their operational effectiveness even if they're never actually detected. For Mossad, managing this psychological pressure on assets inside Iran represents one of the most difficult challenges in the entire operation. How do you convince an Iranian citizen to continue reporting when they're watching their countrymen executed on television for doing exactly what you're asking them to do? How do you maintain asset morale when arrests demonstrate that Iranian counterintelligence clearly has capabilities? This requires sophisticated psychological handling, careful vetting to ensure you're not recruiting individuals who will break under pressure, and realistic assessment of how long networks can operate before compromise becomes inevitable. The strategic implications of this counterintelligence war extend beyond the immediate Iran-Israel conflict. What's happening in Iran represents perhaps the most intense sustained intelligence competition outside of major power rivalry. The CIA and Western intelligence services study these operations carefully because the methodologies being developed and tested have application far beyond the Middle East. For example, the communication security challenges Mossad faces operating in Iran's high surveillance environment are similar to challenges Western intelligence faces in China, Russia, and other authoritarian states with advanced surveillance capabilities. The solutions Mossad develops, whether technical encryption methods, human tradecraft innovations, or operational security protocols, become part of the broader intelligence community's toolkit. Similarly, Iranian counterintelligence methodologies are being studied by other countries seeking to defend against foreign espionage. The surveillance systems, anomaly detection algorithms, and investigation techniques Iran employs provide a model that other nations can adapt. This creates a global intelligence learning cycle where innovations in one theater influence operations worldwide. The other strategic question is how counterintelligence successes reshape the broader shadow war between Iran and Israel. Every time Iran successfully dismantles a Mossad network, Israel loses intelligence collection capability, which means reduced warning time for Iranian activities and decreased ability to conduct precision operations. This potentially forces Israel toward less precise, more aggressive military options when intelligence-driven operations become too risky. Conversely, sustained counterintelligence pressure might convince Iran that Israel's intelligence penetration is so extensive that passive defense is insufficient, potentially prompting more aggressive Iranian retaliation. This escalation dynamic, where counterintelligence success paradoxically increases conflict risk, represents one of the more dangerous aspects of covert wars. For other intelligence services watching this competition, the lesson is clear. Offensive intelligence operations, no matter how sophisticated, will eventually face counterintelligence responses. The sustainability of covert networks isn't just about how well you recruit and handle assets. It's about how effectively you protect them from adversary counterintelligence. And in high-threat environments like Iran, even the best intelligence services lose assets. The question becomes whether you can recruit and develop new networks faster than counterintelligence can dismantle them. What we're watching in Iran is intelligence warfare at its highest level, Mossad's operational sophistication against Iranian counterintelligence's defensive depth. Neither side dominates completely. Mossad continues conducting operations inside Iran, which demonstrates ongoing network capability. Iran continues announcing arrests and executions, which demonstrates ongoing counterintelligence success. The competition continues because either side can achieve complete victory. And that stalemate, paradoxically, is what makes this shadow war sustainable. Both sides can claim success. Both sides can justify continued operations. And both sides accept losses as the price of engagement. The Iran-Israel intelligence war won't end with a decisive victory by either side. It will continue as long as fundamental strategic interests remain opposed and as long as both nations maintain sophisticated intelligence capabilities. What changes is the methodology, the technology, the specific networks and individuals involved. But the essential competition, intelligence versus counterintelligence, penetration versus protection, that continues indefinitely. If you found this analysis valuable, subscribe to WarRoom Intel and hit the notification bell.